Hello guys, how are you? We are back with our C++ data structure and algorithm series. In this today's video, we are going to deal with data types and we are also going to deal with memory analysis of our computer system. So friends, let us start. So first of all, let us deal with what is a data type. So we know that all the variable uses data type during their time of declaration. It means when we declare a variable, at the same time we need to declare a data type also, because it tells the variable what type of data it do need to store. For example, if you are declaring an integer variable, then you need to store only integer value in that container. So in this way basically data types work. So whenever a variable is defined in C++, the compiler allocates some memory for the variable based on the data type. For example, if we talk regarding an integer takes 4 bytes of memory. So for example, if you declare an integer, what does a compiler do? Compiler allocates a 4 byte of memory, or it reserves a 4 bytes of memory in our computer system. In this way basically data types and basically our memory analysis work. So friends, moving further, let us see how does our memory analysis basically work. So friends, as of you know that 8 bits is basically equal to 1 byte. So what does a bit mean? Bit is basically the smallest memory block in our computer system. So when we combine 8 bits together, it constitutes 1 byte. So you need to remember this. And moving forward, you can see that how does basically our RAM works. Let me show you. So this is basically the cross-sectional view of how our memory looks. You will see that there are different type of chips you can imagine to be in our RAM, and in this chip, as we zoom in, you will see that there are multi chips inside that. These all chips are basically used for storing our data. For example, if you declare an integer variable, you will see that 4 blocks of memory will be basically stored for our integer. If you declare a character, then at that time 1 block of memory will be reserved for that character. In this way basically this all memory works. Now moving forward, let us start with our first data type, which is integer. Now what type of data does integer data type store? Integer data type basically store the numeric value, either it will be 1 to 9 or any integer value, and the size of integer data type is basically 4 bytes. Now moving forward, the second data type which we are going to deal is character data types. This type of data type basically stores the alphabetical values, or you can say some special characters which are at the rate or $sign, or we can say the hashtag sign, and the memory which it takes is 1 byte. Now moving forward, the next data type is float or double. But what's the need for float and double? For example, if you declare an integer with a decimal point, at that time you cannot use the integer data type. For this sake, we have defined a new data type which is float or double. These are the two different data types which are used. Now what is the main difference between that float is a 4 byte and double is of 8 byte. This is basically a float. There's a printing mistake over here, friends. This is double. So double basically has 8 byte memory and float has 4 bytes of memory. So double is used for getting a higher accuracy. For example, if you want a decimal value till 15th or 28th value, at that time you can use double. For short decimal value you can use float. Moving forward, there's a special type of data type which is Boolean data type. It is used for storing true or false value, and the memory which is allocated to it is 1 bits. And you need to remember that it is not 1 byte, it is basically 1 bit. Okay friends, now let us sum up all the things which we have learned. You can see that data types in C++ are basically divided into 3 categories, which is user defined, built-in and derived. At this section we are only going to deal with built-in. So in this you can see that integer, character, float, double, boolean, void and white character are used. White character is not majorly used, but as of the time come I will be teaching you that also. Now moving forward, I am going to teach you a special operator which is size of operator. Now what is the work of size of operator? It is basically used to find the, or we can say compute the size of that operand. For example, if you declare a integer, you will say that a 4 block, yani 4 bytes of memory has been stored for integer. So let us see how does the size of operator work. So okay friends, we are on the Visual Studio Code. You can see that I have written a small code here. You can see that the code is for finding the size of different types of data types. You can see that I have written the size of int character is size of character, size of integer is size of int, size of float is size of float, and that's for double. You can see there is a function I have used over here is basically end L. End L is basically used to print a new line. For example, while writing a sort of code, if you want to jump to the next line, you can use end L function. Now let me run this code and see that what are the different size of character, integer, float and double. So you will have a more clear cut idea. Let me run it. So okay friends, you can see that our output has been printed successfully. You can see that size of character is 1 here means 1 byte, size of integer is 4 byte, size of float is also 4 byte, and size of double is 8 byte. So okay friends, that's all for the size of operator. Now in next lecture we are going to deal with operators and friends. Thank you. Now it's your turn to go and code in. Thank you. Bye bye.